Hello and welcome back to a new video. We got Alexis Arguello versus Ray Mancini. Now this is the second time I filmed this video. The first time I filmed it, the microphone was off, so hopefully it's working this time. Let's check out the brightness. Okay, so Alexis Arguello, 75 fights going up against undefeated 20 fights in Ray Mancini. I think 28 years old versus 20 years old. A lot of things I want to touch base on in this fight, from Alexis Arguello's boxing style, his framework of fighting, how he does it in this 15-round fight. Now, Ray Mancini is fighting in front of his father, who is also a fighter, and I believe he wanted to become a champion in front of his father, but that wasn't the case. We'll let the first few rounds go by, and then we'll see. I'll talk about the points that I wanted to touch base on. Every time I watch Alexis Arguello, even if it's the same fight, this is probably the third or fourth time I've watched this fight, and every time you learn something new and you fall in love with him just from watching him. Now, first round, he's doing the basics, jabbing, moving, seeing what the other guy has to offer. He's been in a lot of 15-rounders, so he's not in a hurry to assert himself over his opponent. He's learning. He's using this knowledge for the later rounds. Ray Mancini, a lot more active, the shorter fighter, the younger fighter, the more aggressive fighter. You could see Arguello just moving around, feinting, jabbing, using the left hand a lot in the beginning. I've come to love 15-round fights. Not when I do videos on them, though, because it takes a lot of time, but as a fan, I like watching 15-rounders because the fighters become so much more intimate with each other, and by that I mean they understand each other's styles a lot more than a 12 or 10-round fight. You'll see guys like Alexis Arguello I got caught up watching. You'll see fighters like Alexis Arguello. He has about 4 or 5 knockouts and stoppages after the 13th round, so it's a little bit slower to get to the fight. The fights start around round 6 to 8, and then from there on the fight gets heated up. But after the round 11, you really start seeing the champion rise above the challenger, or the champion rise above the other fighter, because they've had so many more rounds to learn and pick up on traits of their opponent. That's what I believe. Now, I could be mistaken, but you haven't seen Arguello throw the right hand one time in this round. First round, he's not even throwing that right hand. He's just letting that left hand work. He's getting his distances down, his step back down. Okay, nice, calm, and collected. There goes the nice right uppercut to the body. Nothing major. And you see, for a tall guy, I always talk about the legs of Arguello and Benitez. They're able, for Arguello especially, he was a taller guy in his weight class. He was always able to go under punches so swiftly, and he almost went down like if he was the same height as Mancini. His feet were never too wide, too narrow. Every time he bent his legs, it looked like he was sitting on a chair. It was truly beautiful the way he went under punches and moved. See? Okay, this is something that I really want to touch base on, which is the step back hook. I believe Arguello had one of the best step back hooks in the business, in the history of boxing. This fight of Arguello and Arguello versus Ruben Oliveras is almost the same fight. The way the punch he chooses to decimate his opponent. I don't even know what that word means. But here we got the step back hook. Now this one doesn't land, it lands on the outside, but this is something we're going to see a lot of coming up. And one thing I want to touch on also is where Arguello looks. He's not looking up here, he's not looking at the gloves. He sees this and he sees this. Okay? Now as Mancini, something I like to do with fighters like Arguello who do step back counters is see when they start to step back. Okay, so Mancini's getting low. When does Arguello start stepping back? Right about here. Okay. He didn't even see which punch Mancini is throwing yet. He doesn't know if he knows it's going to be a right hand because the way he's carrying his right hand. But there's no commitment. All Mancini did up to this point was just get low. Okay. Just from doing that, Arguello was like, okay, I'm going to take a step back. And when he steps back, he's basically waiting for Mancini to get there. And then he throws it. Threw it too late here, but we'll see later on he won't. And I want you to keep in mind how many left hands Arguello is throwing to how many right hands he's throwing in the beginning rounds. He's giving his opponent one hand at a time. He's giving him one problem to solve at a time. He's not giving him all his tricks. There, he gave him a right hand. That might be the second right hand he threw in 2 rounds. This is another one. Now let's see again when Arguello steps back. And he's just waiting for his opponent. Nice left hook. This is what I talk about, how he bends his legs. A lot of fighters or beginners, I see their front knee, it kind of shoots forward when they bend their legs. Not Arguello complete. If he went any lower, it'd be a 90-degree with the, like right here. That's perfect. It literally looks like he's sitting on a chair. If you draw a chair behind him, it looks like he's sitting on a chair. His knee isn't buckling forward. His weight's on his hamstrings, on the back of his knee, and that's where the weight should be. That's why they call it sitting down. You're literally sitting down on a punch, or when you go under, or something, when you bend your legs. Now let's see this one again. So he'll throw his right hand sometimes, but he's really focusing on that left hand. Now, the reason I've chose this fight is not only to talk about his skill, but throughout this fight, in around the middle of the fight, we'll see that Mancini's actually landing a lot of punches on Arguello. Not a lot, but he's landing clean punches on him. And I always say for a non-fighting fan that doesn't know much about fighting, that if he was watching this fight, they tuned in the middle of the fight, they'll think that these guys are at the same level. But then towards the end of the fight, Arguello just rises to the top, and then you can really tell who's the better fighter right before he ends the fight. So that's that's a reason I've chosen this fight also. There's great fighters, they let their opponent work. They're not scared to let their opponent land punches and work their defense. But towards the end, when they finally figure out their opponent to the T, they bring everything together and they put their opponent away. Now again, I want to see when does Arguello, first of all, look where he's staring again. Straight down here and here. This is, if you're a taller fighter also, this is where you want to be looking. You don't want to really be looking at the hands as much, because the fighter has to bring their feet forward to land a punch on you if you're the taller guy. So if he can pick up on when Mancini bends his legs or comes forward with his legs, which is going to be before the punch happens, he can get out the way before Mancini can get off with his punch. We'll see that. Let's watch his back foot. So his back foot is in the same place now. Let's watch Mancini. And you see the reaction to Mancini's step. Okay. His feet, this bar is annoying. his eyes are directly here and here. This is where he's watching. He sees this foot come forward. He takes a step back with his back foot. Okay, he's not waiting for Mancini to set up and throw the punch for him to get away. He sees this foot step forward because he knows Mancini's the shorter guy. Mancini has to bring his front foot forward before before Mancini can land a punch. So as Mancini picks that left foot forward, it's not even on the ground yet. Arguello already moved his back foot back and it's set. And now he's waiting for Mancini to get there. Okay, let's do that again. Sorry for the repetition, but this is something that not just taller fighters should focus on, but if you're fighting an aggressive guy, they have to move their feet first before they can throw their punches. That's if they're a well-schooled fighter. So we'll see here. Arguello. Now watch again. Arguello, his eyes looking down. Let's go. Yeah, here. Sorry, guys. So Arguello looking down. He's watching that front foot. Mancini picks up his front foot. Arguello picks up his back foot. Mancini's front foot hasn't landed on the ground yet, and Arguello's back foot has already been positioned. He's created distance, and now he's literally waiting for Mancini to get there. That's what being a step ahead of your opponent looks like, is reading your opponent and being able to plan ahead. Sorry for repeating that so many times, but that's something that as a fighter you should really get in your head. Now Arguello throws this punch just like this, and this could have a lot of different uses. One use is against a shorter fighter, you want to remind them to stay up. So what he does is he just throws it just for a reminder for Mancini not to squat down. Because against a shorter fighter, if you're taller, you don't want the shorter guy to squat down. It makes it harder for you, more dangerous. The other thing is he sees how Mancini reacts to this. So from here, Mancini steps up, and you'll see Arguello do this move right here where he does this. He saw that Mancini stood up, and then he would actually deliver a right hand. Not here, but later on. Okay, let's watch the fight. So you got to test different punches. See, there it is. Now let's see what Arguello did. I'm going to back up all the way till the first time he did it, and then we'll come forward. Sorry, guys. Okay, I won't go all the way back. Remember that one he just did before this? Now Arguello is going to... Now see how Mancini steps back? And the point of this punch is not to land. The one that Arguello is throwing, if it lands, it lands. If it doesn't, he doesn't really care. He's trying to make Mancini get taller and step. See how Mancini, he's not in his crouch position anymore. Let's see it again. See, he does it again when Mancini crouches down. And just by throwing that punch, Arguello, he's not landing it. Okay? And then he could throw his right hand. I'm not sure if that landed, but that's how you manipulate where your opponent moves. Is you give them guiding punches, like the uppercut. He doesn't land it, but it's going to guide Mancini up, and then he could set up the right hand with it. If he shot the right hand alone, Mancini could have slipped it. Nice right to the body. Sorry for over-analyzing Arguello, but I love his style. I feel like he was one of the most complete fighters that ever fought. And he was very good against southpaws. I'll have to do a southpaw study film of Arguello. The thing about I like about Arguello is he'll figure you out, and then he'll let you work, and then towards the end of the fight he'll close the show, which I already said a million times, but I'd like to say it again. So jab. Now Mancini gets low. Watch the left hand of Arguello. It's moving in tandem with Mancini here, and then he throws it. Okay, so his left hand is like what's that thing? Automated missile or guided missile. It just tracks the head of Mancini where it moves, and it's always there for him. My coach used to say you could watch just the feet of two fighters and you could tell who's winning the fight just by watching the footwork. And that's true too if you're the guy that's fighting. You can watch the guy's footwork and guess what's going to happen next. Because every fighter, especially if they're short, they have to step in with their punch. Okay, now here we see Arguello. He doesn't really step back because he's already in a longer distance. Okay, the one that I overanalyzed in the round before, Arguello was a little bit closer, so he had to step back with the right foot, then throw the left hook. Here, he throws a jab right about here. He sees that Mancini is about a jab away, and he knows he could just wait for him and throw that hook. I don't think that landed. But I see how he's literally, it's like he's watching Mancini in slow motion, and that's because he's watching his feet. If you watch the feet, you have a split second ahead of what the hands are going to do. This comes with experience, of course. And this is how fighters can see stuff. I'm doing air quotes with my fingers in slow motion. So here, he sees Mancini get low, about to explode, throws that jab out. Okay, he's a jab away, doesn't need a step back. He just needs to wait for Mancini to get there. Misses that. Gets out of there. Okay, so if you want to get better at being a step ahead of your opponent, study their footwork. And the better footwork your opponent has, the easier it is to read them. I mean, the more textbook. Aaron Pryor was the one to give him a lot of problems. He was very unorthodox. He could be an orthodox Aaron Pryor when he wanted to, but when he didn't want to, he could be all over the place. And that would give a guy like Arguello problems. See, I was using that left hand to keep Mancini where he wants him to be. He throws the uppercut sometimes when Mancini bends. Throws the hook to check him. He throws the jab to pop him. The left hand is so many uses that you could win a fight with just the left hand. And what I mentioned about Arguello going down, even against shorter fighters, he makes it look as if they're the same height. There goes that left hand to the body. If you know what I'm saying about a Swiss Army knife, it has a lot of tools to it, and that's the left hand of our Alexis Arguello. So far, we've seen that uppercut. We've seen that we're going to see the body shot. We've seen the hook. We've seen the jab. So many different things just from that left hand. Now, same thing, he's watching the feet. Let's see when he reacts to Mancini. I'll wait for the spar to go away. See that? Mancini hasn't done anything with his hands yet. This is how you know where Arguello is watching. He's watching Mancini's footwork. Is Mancini hasn't done anything with his hands yet. And before even Mancini drops his left hand, before he does that, Arguello already starts moving his right foot back. And that's how he's positioned, waiting for Mancini to get there. So you can see Mancini moves in, but he doesn't really do anything with his hands. He just does a little feint. But Arguello really sits down. He knows that Mancini's going to step in because he's watching his feet. See, and here, as Mancini is still in the air, Arguello is already planted and waiting for him to move in. Like I said, if you watch the feet, you see what the hands are about to do a millisecond before they do what they do. And this is something taller fighters should take from Arguello when they fight shorter fighters, is watch their feet. Because a short fighter can't throw from the outside, they have to step in. If you keep your eyes on when they step in, you could time them with a punch. Not every time, nothing happens perfect in boxing, but you can negate a lot of punches that a shorter fighter might hit you with. Of course, like I said, this comes with experience. You gotta be experienced of being able to be this calm and thinking throughout the fight. Beautiful. See, jab, hook. It's almost like Arguello's sitting behind the computer how I'm sitting, and he's playing this in slow motion. Jab, get out the way, come back with the hook, get out the way again, come back with a jab. But I see his left hand, it's always active. He'll throw punches that aren't going to land just to make you think that, like I said, he'll guide you with his left hand. And how many left hands has he thrown for the right hand? A lot more than the right hand. I'd say maybe 5 or 10 left hands for every right hand he's thrown, even probably more. And that's what a good fighter do. Is I'm not going to show you all my magic tricks in the first minute of the show, because if the show is an hour long or 15 rounds long, if Arguello shows all his tricks off in the first round, all his punches, all his moves, he has nothing new to show Mancini for the rest of the fight. Okay, think of it like that if you want. So he's keeping that right hand tucked in. If he's beating Mancini with the left hand, that's all he wants for now. And then once Mancini picks up on the left hand, Arguello could add in the right hand, and that's when he's really a step ahead of him and really beating him up. But don't show all your tricks right away. If you can use one hand, use the one hand. If you have to use the other hand, use it, but try to minimize the number of punches you throw or the types of punches you throw. The reason you always jab first, the jab is a lot harder to read because it's such a basic punch. It's not like a right hook or a left uppercut or right uppercut. And it's the least, what's that word? Least consequences? Or I forgot the terminology. But the jab, you can throw it from the longest distance, you could throw it the fastest, and you could bring it back the fastest. So it's the level of, I forgot the word, but it's such the cons, the pros and cons. It has the highest pros and the lowest cons, especially when you're fighting in the first round and your opponent is fresh to counter. The jab is the fastest to come out, fastest to come back, and you could throw it from the farthest distance. So it's the least, I forgot the word. But it's the safest punch you can throw. That's why the jab is thrown a lot. And it gives you so much intel. Think of a jab like antennas on a bug. It gives you information. There's a lot of uses of the left hand or the lead hand. It gives you information. It keeps you safe. It wins you points. It could take your opponent's mind off what they're trying to do. So many uses of the left hand or the lead hand if you're southpaw, the right hand. Now, don't get me wrong, having a good right hand is a must. It's very important. But as we see it through round 4, Arguello threw less than 10 right hands, I guess. There's that left hand. There's that left hand. And the left hand could be thrown to any part of the body. It could be thrown to the head, to the body, to the inside, to the outside. So work on your lead hand. Nice left hook. Work on that lead hand. Mix it up. Throw a jab, hook, uppercut, jab to the body, hook upstairs. Make it useful. Make it, Don't throw it with power. Throw it with speed. Once you start catching your opponent more and more, then you could start putting some power behind the hooks, uppercuts, body shots. But make it sting at first. Sorry for talking so fast about the left hand. I love the left hand. or the lead hand. And you see how Arguello stays calm, slipping. Now, see, he throws the right hand when it matters. Now here, this is very basic, but where is, so he misses the jab or misses it, I'll say he misses it. Now where is Mancini? He's on the right side of his jab, or the outside of his jab. Now what punch would Mancini come back from? Come back with after he slips? Is he going to throw a left hand from here? He could, but not really. His jab is too short, and he's in a bad position to throw the left hook. So what punch would he come back with? Especially an aggressive fighter like Mancini. His right foot is loaded up. He's going to shoot a right hand. Arguello's already watching that, and he could already anticipate what's coming back at him and throw that body shot. So once you become at a level of Arguello, you could start already categorizing of what your opponent's about to do. So something, okay, I'll be a little bit more of a nerd. Something you could do in the first round too is I'll throw my jab and I'll see where my opponent slips. Now, there's a bunch of things that I'm trying to get from my opponent. Is first of all, I'm seeing where he slips more. So when I throw the jab, does Mancini slip to the right more? Does he slip to the left more? Now, that's important, but what's more important is what does Mancini counter with? Okay, so when I jab, if he slips right, does he counter with the left hand to the body, or does he counter with the right hand? If he slips to the left, does he counter with the right hand, or does he counter with the left uppercut? Okay, so just by throwing that jab, now I know what Mancini usually counters with, and then I could do what, or if I'm talking as if I'm Arguello. Oh, it happened a while ago, I guess. I just want to tell you guys what you could do with the lead hand and what information you can get with it to help you how to study your opponents, so you're not always guessing, and how you can start thinking ahead. Okay, so from the first round, we said Arguello's just jabbing, he's learning, he's taking in information. Now, this is what I meant. When you jab, okay, in the first round, did Mancini jab to the body when he slipped to the right, which is something I would do sometimes, but he's not in a position to do that, or does he counter more with the right hand? So you see, you learn where they slip more and what counters they throw. Now, Arguello might have seen that Mancini, when he slips to the right, he likes to counter with the right hand. So Arguello already knows, okay, let me roll the right hand before it's even thrown, and he's already waiting for him to land that body shot. And like watching the feet, how he was a step ahead, he's step ahead with countering the counter. So I like to jab sometimes right at the middle of the opponent's head, and I want to see if they jab back at me. Do they throw a right hand back at me? Do they slip? Do they step back? Do they duck down? And that's all information that you could use later in the fight. And this works best against aggressive fighters like Mancini, because they're not going to try to out-trick you as much. They're just going to try to hurt you. So it's easier to read an angry person than a cool person. So use that jab, throw it, and see where they slip. See what counters they throw. See what they do after you jab. Later in the fight, when you jab, you kind of guess where they're going, and then you could set up the next shot. You're not really thinking about landing the jab as devastating. You're thinking about landing that left hook or that right hand. So that's the importance of studying in the first round or two. Now, this isn't amateurs. This is professional. Amateurs, you don't have time to do this type of studying of your opponent. You got to get in there and fight. Nice right hand. I don't know if he rolled it. Looks like it landed. Now, I think round 5 or 6, Mancini starts landing punches. And Arguello is fine with that. He just blocks. He eats punches. And he's letting Mancini work. He's letting him get his energy out. He's learning more. He's working his defense. He's working his timing. And then the last third of the fight is when he shuts him out. And Mike McCollum did that against Michael Watson. I'll do a study on that too. See that? I made a video about this on Instagram about step back left hook of this fight. Arguello did it about 20 times. And the thing about Arguello is he's landing that left step back hook. And then what he's gonna do, like I said, he's gonna introduce that right hand, start working that right hand, and then he'll go back to the left hook. So he's giving you a problem each time. Mancini, he's not really holding back. He's trying to land what he can land, so he's showing everything. Now, like I said from our study before, okay, Mancini slipped left this time, and he threw a right hand to the head. So you keep note of that in your head. I jabbed, he slipped left. What did he throw? The right hand. Okay, I'll keep that in my bank of knowledge about the opponent. Now, I get questions about how should I study my sparring partner, and this is exactly what you do. You see how they react to what you throw, and the next step is seeing how they react to where you go. That rhymed. Basically how they react to your defensive moves, and then you could even learn stuff from there. But if you always fight or spar your sparring partner like you just met them for the first time, it's kind of stupid. You want to learn stuff. You want to learn them. Sorry for talking so much. You can let me know in the comments what you would like me to study more about the fight. If what I'm doing is what you like, if you want me to focus more on something, if you want me to talk less, talk more, just let me know. I'll fix it up for you. See, Mancini dipped right, came back with the jab. Now, the other thing that if you are Mancini when the jab comes at you is you don't want to counter it the same way every time, of course. That's what I was talking about first. Everybody has habits, but you want to try to break your habits. Nice left hand. If you always slip in the same direction every time, it becomes predictable. Nice left hand by Mancini. So like I mentioned, that jab is the antenna of like a bug. It feeds you back information, so use it in that manner. Use it to hurt your opponent, use it to outpoint your opponent, use it to touch up your opponent. Now here, Arguello, if he wanted to, he could step out and fight from the outside, but he wants to fight and just let Mancini work a little bit more. I'm not saying he's letting him like he's in total control, but he is choosing to work with Mancini. And you could see that he has thrown the right hand in some occasions, but usually, or for the most part in 5 rounds, it's that left hand. Just by switching up through uppercuts, hooks, jabs, and switching distance, that's enough for him to keep Mancini busy with just the left hand. See, Mancini's throwing everything. Right hands, left hooks, uppercuts, blah, blah, blah. Arguello is just using that left hand. Pop him. Now, of course, the level of... see, he throws that right hand when it's... He threw the right hand a couple more times before this, but when it's a good time to throw the right hand. Bang. He sees a wide opening for it like this. Bang. Okay. Use your good shots, your good punches when you absolutely need to. Or when you get the perfect chance to. But don't throw them for a waste, because then you're teaching your opponent how to defend against them and you're giving them your timing. It's a lot of the thought process of boxing is like, it's truly like chess. If you do a move too many times, the opponent picks up on it and then it ruins your move, because they can read it. So you want to keep your best moves hidden and use them when you absolutely need to or get the perfect opportunity to. Don't throw them for no reason. The jab you could throw all day long and you could change the tempo on it, and it's such a basic punch that your opponent can't really read your style. They haven't seen your left hook as much, your power right hand, your right uppercut, your body shots. I hope that's making sense. Here again, he gets an opportunity for that right hand. There's that right uppercut again. Now in this round, we've seen Arguello use the right hand a little bit more than he did in the previous rounds. We'll see the next round. Is he going to use that right hand even more? Or is he just going to keep him with the left hand? And great fighters, I should say, they're not scared to get hit. Of course, they'll test out your power, but see, they'll take a jab, but they know that they're always in control of the fight. They never look like they're out of control. And they want to taste your punches. They want to see what you got. You don't always want to be running around away from punches or slipping every punch. You got to take some punches sometimes. You build confidence within your opponent so they know that they can come forward more. The reason Floyd Mayweather fights are kind of boring or were boring later in his career was because he shut out every chance to get hit, or a majority of them, so his opponents kind of lost confidence to throw punches. When you let your opponent land some punches and you work your defense, you build their confidence that they have a chance to land a punch on you, and that opens them up for more opportunities. If someone's really dangerous, you want to shut them out completely. But if you can take someone's punch, let them hit you on the guard a couple times, build their confidence to let them come forward, and then they'll open up themselves for even a bigger opening for you to land your power shots. But if you do everything perfect, you kill their confidence, and then they become harder to hit because they're more closed off also, and it makes for a boring fight and a harder fight for you. If your goal is just to win against an aggressive fighter, then of course you just want to shut them out with every chance you get. Again, I hope that makes sense. But great fighters like Arguello, they know how to build confidence, take it away from the opponent. But I see how he's mixing it up in this round. He's staying in there more. Arguello in this round, he's moving forward a little bit more than just stepping back. This is only halfway through the fight. Nice left hand. And he's not doing the step back left hook as much as he was in the first part of the fight. He uses it when he absolutely needs to. In the first few rounds, he's doing it a lot. Oh, that was a nice body shot. Now he's moving in more. So he's moving forward with his jab a little bit more, stepping in with it. Nice left hook. He does a step back left hook there. Oh, nice. See, he's beating on Mancini now. He's trying to land some power shots. He's not just working that left hand like he was in the first rounds. He's in the process of breaking down Mancini now. And this is what a great fighter can do. They can box you from the outside. They can counter you. They can move in and fight with you. They could stand there and fight with you. They can move in and punish you. Okay, so that's the first part of the fight, which is basically Arguello watching the feet of Mancini in the beginning to get his... Okay, first of all, we'll start with the very first round. Jabbing, getting information, slipping, moving, trying different punches with the left hand, the lead hand, seeing how Mancini moves and reacts to them. Moving forward, finding a nice counter, which Arguello found that the step back left hook was a great counter against the Mancini. Watching the feet and the lower part of the body just as much as you watch the torso, because if you're the taller fighter, if you watch the shorter fighters, the shorter fighter has to move their feet before they punch a taller fighter. So if you can keep your eyes on their feet or on their legs, you can tell what punch is going to come next or when they're going to punch. The good fighters, great fighters, they could stay out on the outside and fight, box. They could move in and they'll let you work your punches while they work their defense. They'll trade with you and they could push you back. This is absolutely great fighters, what they can do. And something else I wanted. Oh yeah, what I was saying about the jab in the first round is risk to reward ratio. So when I'm choosing my punches against an opponent, especially the first round, is I'm choosing my highest risk and lowest, my highest reward and lowest risk. Left hook is a high reward but a high risk. Right hand, same thing, especially in the beginning of the fight. The jab is the highest reward, lowest risk. You could throw it from as far as you can. You could throw it fast and bring it back fast. It leaves you open the least amount of time. And you could throw it from any position and any stance, wherever you are in the ring, you could throw it. So the jab, the reason you want to throw it a lot in the beginning is because it's high reward, low risk. Now the hooks, now as you time your opponent, you learn more about them. Later in the fight, you could throw higher reward punches, which are hooks, uppercuts, and with real aggressive power, because the fighter has slowed down and the reflexes to counter you have slowed down, and you study them more, so you could take more chances. In the beginning of the fight, take less chances, stick the jab. Later in the fight, you could take more chances when your opponent is tired. So high risk, high reward, low risk. That's the measurement I like using when I choose my punches, depending where I am in the fight. And yeah, we'll watch the second half hopefully tomorrow, and we'll see why Arguello is such a great fighter. I'll stop saying good. I'll only say great. And thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.